walls I've built up. I'm gonna knock them down if I stay strong, and I'll keep holding on. Run around, run around.
By the time Park Min-jun turned 40, he had lost everything. The company worth 4 billion won. The penthouse overlooking the Han River. His marriage. His reputation. But perhaps most painfully, he had lost something he thought he'd buried forever. That feeling of powerlessness he knew as a child in Busan. This is the story of how ambition, pride, and one devastating scandal can erase a decade of success in a matter of months. Min-jun was born in 1980 in Busan, South Korea's second-largest city. While Seoul glittered with corporate towers and K-pop dreams, Busan was grittier, a working port city where people earned their living with their hands. His father, Park Sung-ho, was a fisherman. Every morning at 4 a.m., he'd head to the docks, returning after dark smelling of salt and diesel. His mother, Kim Mi-young, worked long shifts at a textile factory in the industrial district, her fingers constantly moving over fabric, stitching hems for clothes that would be sold in Seoul department stores she'd never visit. They lived in a small apartment in Gamcheon Culture Village before it became a tourist attraction. Back then, it was just a hillside neighborhood of poor families stacked on top of each other in pastel-colored boxes. Min-jun shared a room with his younger sister. They had little, but his parents carried themselves with dignity. Hard work. Family honor. These were the values etched into Min-jun's bones. The defining moment came when he was 11 years old. His father had taken out a loan to buy a newer fishing boat, an investment that was supposed to change everything. For a few months, it worked. The catches were better. His father smiled more. There was talk of maybe, finally, moving to a bigger apartment. Then, the boat's engine failed. Repairs cost more than expected. A storm damaged the hull. His father, too proud to ask for help, borrowed more money at crushing interest rates. Min-jun didn't understand the details then, but he understood the tension. The hushed, desperate conversations after he was supposed to be asleep. His mother was crying quietly in the kitchen. One afternoon, Min-jun came home from school to find his father sitting on the floor of their apartment, completely still. The boat had been repossessed that morning. Everything, the investment, the dream, the hope, gone. His father never really recovered. He got work on other people's boats, but something inside him had broken. He became withdrawn, distant. Min-jun watched his mother work double shifts to keep them afloat, and watched his father's shame consume him slowly. Min-jun made a promise to himself that day. He would never be poor again. He would never be powerless. He would never let debt destroy him the way it destroyed his father. At 19, Min-jun left Busan with won 50,000 in his pocket, roughly $40. He took the bus to Seoul, watching the landscape change from coastal industrial sprawl to the glittering capital. He had no connections, no university degree, no plan beyond a burning determination to succeed. He found cheap housing in a gosiwon, one of those tiny cubicle rooms barely big enough for a bed, shared bathroom down the hall. He worked whatever jobs he could find: construction, restaurant kitchens, delivery services. Seoul was overwhelming, expensive, and indifferent to another poor kid from Busan. But Min-jun noticed something. In Myeongdong, Seoul's famous shopping district, tourists and young Koreans crowded the streets buying cosmetics. Korean beauty products were starting to gain international attention. The streets were lined with vendors selling everything from sheet masks to BB creams. Min-jun started small. He bought wholesale knockoff cosmetics and sold them from a street cart. His pitch was natural, effortless. He could read people, know exactly what they wanted to hear, which product to suggest. While other vendors shouted aggressively, Min-jun built rapport. He learned basic Chinese and English phrases. Tourists loved him. By 22, he'd saved enough to rent a tiny storefront. But he'd also learned something crucial. The market was flooded with cheap products. To really succeed, you needed something genuine, something premium but accessible. He spent months researching traditional Korean ingredients: ginseng, snail mucin, fermented rice water. He found a small manufacturer willing to work with him and created his first original product, a brightening serum using traditional formulas his grandmother had mentioned, combined with modern cosmetic science. He called the brand Zuma Nova. The packaging was simple but elegant, magnifying imagery, soft colors, Korean and English text. He positioned it as authentic K-beauty, traditional wisdom, modern results. The first batch sold out in 3 weeks. By 25, Min-jun had expanded Zuma Nova into a legitimate operation. A small office, a proper distribution deal. His products appeared in mid-tier department stores. Korean beauty was exploding internationally, and Min-jun's timing was perfect. Min-jun was living the dream millions chase. But before I tell you how it all unraveled, I'm curious. Where are you watching this from? Are you in Seoul, New York, London, or somewhere else entirely? Drop your city in the comments. I read every single one, and it's fascinating to see how these stories about money, ambition, and failure resonate across different cultures. The breakthrough came when a popular beauty blogger in China featured Zuma Nova overnight sleeping mask. Within days, his website crashed from traffic. Orders flooded in from Shanghai, Beijing, Guangzhou. Southeast Asian markets followed: Singapore, Thailand, Vietnam. By 30, Min-jun was running a company generating 1.5 billion won in annual revenue. By 35, it had nearly tripled to 4 billion won, roughly $3 million US. He moved into a penthouse in Gangnam, the wealthy district immortalized in pop songs. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the Han River. He bought a black Genesis G90, the luxury sedan that announced you'd made it in Korean business. He wore tailored suits from Italian designers. He married Soo-jin, a marketing executive he'd met at an industry conference. Beautiful, sophisticated, from a good family. Min-jun had escaped Busan. He had erased that powerless boy whose father lost everything. Or so he thought. Success brought new pressures. Min-jun expanded aggressively new product lines, larger manufacturing facilities, more export markets. Zuma Nova was everywhere. Department stores, online, airport duty-free shops. But growth required capital. Min-jun took out business loans, large ones. The interest was manageable as long as revenue kept climbing. And revenue always kept climbing, didn't it? Then came the family obligations. In Korean culture, when you succeed, your family succeeds. Min-jun's younger sister needed help with her struggling cafe. His mother's medical bills, cousins who needed jobs. His father, still in Busan, never asked for anything. His pride wouldn't allow it. But Min-jun sent money anyway, hoping it might somehow repair what was broken between them. More problematically, Min-jun brought family members into the business. His brother-in-law became operations manager despite limited experience. A cousin handled supplier relationships. In Korean business culture, Family loyalty often trumped competence. Min-jun convinced himself it would be fine. They'd learn. Loyalty mattered more than MBA degrees. But corners got cut. Quality control slipped. His brother-in-law approved cheaper suppliers to inflate his performance numbers. Warning signs appeared: customer complaints about product consistency, manufacturing delays. But Min-jun was too busy maintaining the image of success. Because that's what mattered in Korean business culture. Face, appearance, never showing weakness. Min-jun upgraded to a larger Gangnam penthouse. He bought a Mercedes S-Class for Soo-jin. They were photographed at charity galas. Zumanova sponsored K-pop events. Min-jun gave interviews about his rags-to-riches story. The poor boy from Busan who built a beauty empire. Behind the scenes, cash flow was tightening. The loans were larger than ever. Revenue was still growing, but profit margins were shrinking. Min-jun borrowed more to cover the gaps, to maintain operations, to keep up appearances. His marriage was fracturing too. Soo-jin had wanted a partner, but she'd gotten a man obsessed with proving something to ghosts. Min-jun worked constantly, traveled endlessly. When he was home, he was distant, stressed. She tried to talk to him about slowing down, about the company's concerning trajectory. He dismissed her concerns. He couldn't admit weakness, not to her, not to anyone. Then came the scandal. In the spring of 2019, rumors began circulating online. A popular Korean forum post claimed Zumanova's newest face cream contained contaminated ingredients. The post included photos of users with severe skin reactions, rashes, burns, swelling. The post went viral within hours. In the age of social media, a beauty brand's reputation can be destroyed before you finish your morning coffee. Zumanova's social media was flooded with angry comments. News outlets picked up the story. China, Zumanova's largest export market, immediately suspended imports pending investigation. Min-jun launched an immediate investigation. The truth was complicated. One manufacturing batch had indeed been compromised due to a supplier issue. The cheaper supplier his brother-in-law had approved to save money. The contamination affected less than 3% of products, but in the beauty industry, 3% might as well be 100%. Min-jun issued recalls, offered refunds, held a press conference bowing in apology. The full Korean corporate contrition ritual. But the damage was done. Competitors, sensing blood in the water, launched aggressive campaigns. Real K-beauty you can trust, with obvious implications about Zumanova. Retailers dropped his products. Online sales collapsed by 70% in 2 weeks. The financial structure, already strained, couldn't withstand the shock. Revenue vanished. The loans came due. Banks that had courted him months earlier now demanded immediate repayment. Min-jun liquidated everything he could: inventory, equipment, real estate. Penthouse went first, then the cars. He sold his personal luxury goods. It wasn't enough. Zumanova declared bankruptcy 8 months after the scandal broke. A decade of work gone. His marriage ended around the same time. Soo-jin filed for divorce quietly. There was no dramatic fight, no screaming, just exhaustion. She'd watched him sacrifice everything, their relationship, his health, his integrity, to avoid the one thing he feared most, being poor again. And in avoiding it, he'd manifested it. Min-jun moved into a small apartment in a nondescript neighborhood. Not Busan, not Gangnam. Somewhere in between, somewhere anonymous. The man who once employed 150 people now worked for a mid-sized cosmetics company as a product development consultant. No management position, no equity, just a salary and the anonymity of being a regular employee. Min-jun is 43 now, 3 years removed from the collapse. He takes the subway to work like everyone else. He lives modestly, deliberately. He's paying down the remaining personal debts slowly, methodically. He doesn't drive a Genesis G90 anymore. He takes the bus. His father passed away 2 years ago, never having spoken about the boat, about the debt, about any of it. Min-jun attended the funeral in Busan and stood at the graveside understanding, finally, what his father had felt. That particular shame of having failed people who depended on you. That weight of pride mixed with powerlessness. But Min-jun also understands something his father never could. Failure isn't the end. It's just expensive education. He's learned that growth without foundation crumbles. That family loyalty in business requires honest competence, not blind trust. That the appearance of success can be more dangerous than actual failure. That the fear of being poor can make you poor faster than anything else. He's learned that the boy from Busan, who promised himself he'd never be powerless again, had spent 20 years being controlled by that very promise. Some former colleagues avoid him, others nod respectfully. In Korean business culture, there's a certain honor in how you handle failure. Min-jun handled his with dignity. He didn't flee the country. He didn't blame others publicly. He bowed, apologized, and rebuilt quietly. He still walks through Myeongdong sometimes, past the street corner where he once sold cosmetics from a cart. The vendors are still there, hustling, dreaming. He doesn't feel nostalgia exactly, more like recognition. That hungry kid is still there inside him, but quieter now, wiser. Min-jun will probably never run another company. The risk appetite is gone, replaced by something more valuable. Perspective. He's good at his job. He keeps his head down. He saves a little money each month. And some nights, in his small apartment, he thinks about his father sitting on that floor in Busan, broken by debt and shame. He thinks about the promise he made that day, never to be poor or powerless again. He kept half that promise. He became powerful, briefly. He became poor again, inevitably. But he's learned the truth his father never could. You're only truly powerless when you let fear make your decisions. When you sacrifice everything real, integrity, relationships, peace, for the appearance of success. Min-jun is no longer afraid of being poor. And in that, finally, he's found a kind of power his younger self never imagined. The boy from Busan, who lost everything, learned the hardest lesson. Sometimes you have to lose everything to find out what actually matters. Does Min-jun's story remind you of someone you know? Or perhaps a path you've walked yourself? Drop a comment below. These stories connect us across borders because ambition, fear, and resilience are universal languages. If Min-jun's journey resonated with you, there are more stories like this coming. From Paris to Moscow, from Silicon Valley to Shanghai. People who rose, fell, and discovered what they're really made of. Subscribe so you don't miss them. Until the next story.